show is brought to you by Health Plans, your Medicare plans, insurance solutions, and resource agency. We have a variety of plans and products that fit your needs, benefit requirements, and budget, with many low or no-cost premium plans, zero co-pays, and much more. Our licensed benefits advisor's priority is your health and well-being. Call us today and book your no-obligation consultation. 1-929-367-5269.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, the Sales World channel, with your host, Hurricane Age, and on iHealth Radio as well. New day, new show, new topic. And today is a topic that we can all use. I think as humans, we need to develop ourselves at all times. And whether it's on a personal level or business, professional level, any day that goes by, anything that we can do to improve ourselves is just a great day and something else to get us to the next level. And with me today, a specialist, someone who does this for a living, helps people get better in their personal life, behavior, professionally. And he's a coach and a personal development coach. And he has a very unique story. And I can tell you, just reading about his story, and I haven't even heard the story, I'm going to hear it together today. I don't know if many people would have actually lived to state his kind of concept. It is a very unique story. And, I live, this to him to tell us about the details. He's also an author. He has a book that's out. So we're going to talk about all that. So there's a lot of good stuff today. So you're with us for a sweet ride. And with me today, I have Ryan Lindner. And, without any further ado, Ryan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. First things first, as I said, you have a unique story. And I want to know what happened. It's short of a miracle, I would say, but you tell the audiences what happened.
Yeah. So, I've been in wellness my entire career. So, about 20 years or so. And, I grew up as an introvert, still very much am, of course, but also grew up with a lot of anxiety. So I kind of gravitated towards wellness. Never planned on being a coach, didn't know it was a career option at the time, just sort of fell into it. But I love, coaching, wellness. I was a collegiate athlete, track and field, always ate well, nutrition and really, like a lot of other people I know who are coaches in the helping professions, I was driven to it, looking for answers for myself. I had just this crazy anxiety and fairly low self-esteem. I think in high school had a little bit of an eating disorder for a while, which for years, but I think that's a little bit more uncommon for males as well. So, and back then it just wasn't viewed, the resources weren't available as they are today. So in other words, people would look at my extreme anxiety and OCD and the eating thing, and they would kind of, Ryan's just quirky, or he's, they didn't think, they saw as easy to label it as, I was a neat freak. But I was really suffering a pretty good bit. Big people pleaser, wanted to that's how I got my value and my self-worth. That's where it came from. So began to kind of seek out personal development and ways to kind of overcome all these things I thought, were wrong with me. I mean, I couldn't speak in public. Like, a lot of people have a fear of speaking in public, but it would be soul crushing for me. I mean, I'd be sweating through my shirt. It'd be like drenched, like I took a shower. So I got into wellness, and I found out one thing I was good at, besides just being really interested in it for myself, was I enjoyed talking about it, helping other people, asking them questions. And I could always relate to a lot of those people who were going through those same struggles. I'd done a lot of work with introverts, with people with anxiety, and I could always relate to that. in fact, when I think about all the clients over the years, I've done thousands and thousands of sessions. I was usually the most introverted one, or the one but I could always relate. So health was always a priority for me. I wanted to nutrition and always, good amount of sleep for a long time. I even logged my sleep. And, I didn't know that was a profession. So it was kind of years of struggle leading up to it. But I would say I got what I would call the closest thing to a dream job I can think of. I got a contract, and it was for coaching. And I was there for about, I was at the company for maybe a month, and I dropped dead. Totally random, one day, just walking along, and boom. So, needless to say, being in wellness for my whole life, it was random, no family history, anything like that. Totally random. I looked to the lady next to me, and I just said, I knew about 5 or 6 seconds before I went down from, cardiac arrest. I knew I was going to go down. So I knew it was going to happen. I could feel my vision sort of closing in like a tunnel, just sort of taking over. And all I could muster was, I'm going to go down now. And of course you wake up and it's like a movie. I woke up in ER, just like the show ER. People are yelling, they're running around, they're doing stuff. The doctor's yelling at the nurse. He's yelling, "What did you do to this man?" And of course later they were questioning me about, did I take steroids or anything? And no. I mean, the only thing I ever took was maybe some whey protein and fish oil, or just health and wellness was always, again, so important to me, and I would have never guessed it. So I was 30 at the time, and because it was my dream job and I had just arrived, no paid time off, my insurance hadn't kicked in. Because usually you wait 90 days, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't, when I woke up, I didn't quite, first of all, the doctor's yelling at the nurse, and he was, what do you do? What did you do? They thought maybe they did, because none of them knew what was going on. And I kind of whispered, she didn't do anything to me, and then the next day I had another one, they broke out the paddles and they did all that. So I had another cardiac arrest, which was actually the next day. Although I was already in the hospital in the ICU, so that's the good place to be. But it needless to say, it transformed my life. So, 2 cardiac arrests. That's not the best part of the story, I guess, or the most surprising part. The surprising part is later. But I thought I was dead, because they didn't know what was going on. Nothing structurally wrong with the heart. No, they still don't know. They still don't know today. I'm in my low 40s now, so it's well over a decade. They still don't know. What they've done is they treat the symptoms. So I've got a pacemaker now, and it's like my safety net. Mm-hmm. But I had an identity that was this: I am a coach, I am a fitness person, I am a nutritionist. And suddenly I found myself, there's some things I can never do again. Mm. And I've got wires I've got wires screwed in my heart, and I've got a Bluetooth device that downloads the information and sends it to the doctor every day. But I've seen world-renowned specialists all over the place, all over. And it's a big mystery. So the closest, after years of research, the closest I can come to is I've got electrical problems, like the brain communicating, That's the closest I have been able to get. But here's the interesting part is I'm basically dizzy 24 hours a day. And I've been to, again, world-renowned specialists. There was a 1-year waiting list to see this person at a heart hospital. So I'm dizzy 24/7 to varying degree. And what's interesting about that is how it transformed my coaching sessions. So most coaches, counselors, psychologists, and I've had psychologists as clients. Most of us not treat, but work with clients more from an academic perspective or from the perspective of I'm provider and you are a client. But it totally transformed them in that, one thing I specialize in is help people with their boundaries. I help them manage their energy. And I have to do that. If I don't manage my own energy, and I'll explain what I mean by that. If I don't manage my own energy, I get sick, very sick. So I've got to get a certain number of sleep. I have to be careful and pace myself when I do car rides, long trips. I get real sick and fatigued easy. My work day, I have to prioritize self-care. And with most of my clients and most people out there, most people are sort of on that to-do list and they're just sort of stuck on it. And so again, I specialize in helping people see their blind spots, really the habits that they can't see. And some of that is the self-care and the boundaries and how to get kind of unstuck from where they are. And it's usually stuff they can't see. I remember the first time I had a psychologist as a client, I'm thinking, wow, I thought they're supposed to have it all figured out. They're psychologists, right? So, but I realized that we're all just people. And we can't, no matter how smart you are, you could be brilliant, but you can't see yourself. You can't see yourself. So that's where I come in and I work with people to kind of undo some of those things that they don't realize that they're doing. But, my sessions, I was back at work 5 days later. Again, no paid time off. I had a financial need. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them were virtual appointments. So they couldn't see that I had wires all connected to me and I'm on this heart monitor. And I remember I was talking to one lady and I was just worried about not keeling over. I was kind of in and out of consciousness and I'm still trying to do the session here. And she's going on and on about some problems and things. And it just totally transformed the dynamic of sessions, because unfortunately in this world, some it doesn't have to, but oftentimes it takes a trauma to wake somebody up. It takes, now why is that? Because people are just going on and on. They're not aware of their own habits, right? Because we can't see ourselves. So people generally, when a trauma occurs, they're forced to stop. And, you get in a car accident, you maybe lose a loved one or something. And then suddenly you reflect for a little while and you say, whoa, that was close. No one's worried about mowing the grass when they're in ICU. No one's worried about that. They're just worried about, whoa, I'm in the ICU. That was close. And for me, I was saying my goodbyes and, since no one knew it was wrong, it was just kind of like, wow, one day I'm fine. Matter of fact, the day before I worked out, felt great, did great squats, just feeling good. And boom, that was the end. And no one ever thinks this is all the time they'll ever get. They never think that, So I just talked a lot.
I trust me, I do the same. I'm listening to you right now because I have to say, I didn't want to cut you off. I have so many questions or at least interjections here, but it is amazing. I wasn't joking earlier when I said, the story is very unique. And I think clinically speaking, the odds of someone surviving a heart attack, is a 50-50 shot. And, you're not, technically, most doctors will tell you if you get a second one, it's over. You got two of them in 2 days. And that is literally, I mean, God bless you, man. And, I'm glad that you actually are here and doing the work you do, and a decade later, and hopefully much better than back in in that time. And again, you were at your top. I mean, that 30 is the best year you can have in life. I mean, 30s. I mean, I remember 30 like yesterday. I mean, it's 2 decades ago, but that long, and that was like where you feel your best. I mean, you're just about mature. You're just kind of like, the beginning of your top career piece, and you're like really, everything. The world is yours, and your dreams are higher and bigger and all this, and then boom, it shuts down, and you just hit. And I want to go back a little bit to your youth, but before I get there, I just want to just touch about what you just said now while it's still fresh. We go about this life every day. Everyone listening and walking right now, watching, whatever you are, driving and potentially listening to a podcast, you're doing something. You're going, you're running to a place. You have an appointment, you have a meeting, you have something, a date, whatever it is. You're going to the gym. This is the story of humans every day. There are people that are waking up, feeling the greatest. They don't happen to make it to the end of the day. None of us have that guarantee, and we take it for granted every day. We don't realize that can happen, and it never. We always have that thing that happens to the others and never happened to us, but it can happen to anyone, us or our family members, and it's tough. And to your point, when that happens, or something that big happens, or that's major, or that's tragic, it really turns you to a whole different person. I mean, it's an experience. Like, it's almost like, you are reborn, right? It's like, whoa, like to your point, who cares about the loan? Who cares about bills? When you're at that point, you don't care about anything else. It doesn't matter. All you worry about is that you want to be back. You want to be healthy. And I knew something about health earlier. You mentioned health. Health is everything for us. I mean, I don't care if you have billions. Again, billions are good. I'm not saying nothing against money, but if you shut down, there's nothing. Maybe they pump you more. Maybe, I don't know, they put you to the best, ICU unit. But at the end of the day, if you're not back, you're not back. You can't enjoy that money. Your health is never going to be the same. I mean, you said it yourself. You are wired to stuff. You have to be monitoring every day. That is a difficult life. You're looking good. I mean, I gotta give you kudos, man. I mean, you've adjusted, you adapted to it, and looking at you right now, talking to you, I wouldn't even guess that, right? But this, and you've lived with it. You've adjusted to it, and many people. I mean, they have had people who had traumatic, experiences, accidents, and things. People have lost their limbs. People have lost, many. I mean, there's so many cases out there, right? And I've had a friend actually, just sat down, fell asleep, and never came back. So young guy. So just to give you, like, no one has these guarantees, but yet we go crazy. And the work you do is important. And I think once we get from this point to the discussion about the business, the personal development, and you mentioned something, the habits, the blind, the all these little angles that we don't see. And you're right, we are not always aware. Not all of us, but most of us are not aware. We're not reflecting. You said it, keyword, reflect. You ponder a little bit, like, what the hell's going on? You have to take a pause and stop and just kind of reevaluate your life. And we need to do that more often. I mean, I'm all about positivity personally. And every day I refresh. In the morning, I'm going like everybody, like, I'm human. I have work, I have businesses, I have this, I have that. Family, there's bills, there's this, that. I mean, your taxes, you name it, it's all available, it's all happening. And you have to deal with these nonsense every day. And it's just how you cope with it sometimes can make a difference. In your case, I mean, the medical condition that you weren't even aware of. That's the hardest part. I mean, even doctors to date, you said it, they're not even clear about what happened. I mean, they got closer to the idea. Maybe there's a communication or like an electrical, transmission system from brain to I guess the heart or to other parts of the body. But even that is potentially just as close to the reality of things, but no one is at least clear on that end based on your comment or based on your information that you give us today. But the fact of the matter is, you are a great example for anyone watching and listening that don't take life, for granted. Live your life. Make sure you make the right improvements in your life. Make sure you actually get the things that are irrelevant out of your life. Live in a way that you're going to enjoy, that you're going to stay healthy as much. And here's the fact that you clearly had a very well lifestyle. I mean, you lived a good wellness, format, and you had good nutrition. You did your workout and stuff. You were not really a crazy dude and doing things that destroy your body. But yet, who knew, right? And again, the odds, like you said, you were there, you collapsed, and you realize, oh, heart attack. Then you're in the ICU, and luckily you were there. I mean, to your point, thank God for that. You were there. It's a lot easier if you're in there compared to if you were somewhere else. Maybe they can't get to you. Maybe whatever happens, it's difficult, right? So those are like, extreme events. This is like, if we evaluate your case in this world, you probably are one, the top 1% of all tough cases that ever, happen or I've heard of personally. I mean, even in the movies, you can't potentially fathom this. It's not something that you hear about. I mean, sometimes they say that had someone that they had to revive a couple of times, but no one that I've heard of in the history that had actually day after day, 2 separate heart attacks that were completely legit and you were out where the heart stops. That is tough. But that's an example. But that there's worse. I mean, obviously, some people go and they just never come back, right? They just go. It is amazing that we live life constantly in a struggle, constantly looking to just achieve and do things, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But we imbalance things. We don't have a good lifestyle balance, and that's your work. You took it up on yourself. You had that before, but it kind of stopped. And I know it's difficult because, to your point, that's another part. Maybe we can have a whole show about that. Just the day where you started the career and you get excited, no insurance, and boom, you're in the ER. And I'm sure that's a whole different, stress that you had to deal with just to try to figure out the bills and all that. I mean, ICUs are expensive. Hospital stay is expensive. Not even sure. And cardio problems are more expensive. So surgeons cost a lot. So everything that you went through is very expensive. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in terms of cost. I'm an insurer. Trust me, I know. I can tell you those are difficult, procedures. The other part is I wanted to go quickly back to the youth. You said it. You said you were very introvert. You did not really kind of social like most, maybe like other people would. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. People are different. And I think that's the beauty of humans, that we are different and we can work with our differences. I'm a lonely child. I mean, I had no brothers or sisters, so I kind of grew up by myself pretty much. I can literally isolate and socialize at the same time. It's irrelevant to me. I can be by myself for hours, for days. And when I'm in crowds, I love it, right? So everybody's different. People have grown with families. Like my best friend has like 12, brothers. He has like 7 brothers and sisters. Whatever, it's a big family, and they have so many cousins. When I go to their events, forget it. I mean, it's like 40 people. Just in a small party. It's a lot of kids running. It is tough. I'm like, I don't know how to do it, dude. I can't. I grew up on myself. It's a little tough for me, but it's adjusting, right? But you said some stuff about, how the youth sometimes don't realize these things. And you had to go through tough time because people don't sometimes agree with different. Sometimes when you're different, people look at you like you're an airhead, like something off with you, like you're an alien. You're not like everybody else. And, I just want to send this message to people watching, listening, parents, or just youth people and younger folks. Listen, life's going to go through, and it doesn't pay. You be nice, do the right thing for people. Don't be bully and all that stuff. It's not going to work for you for the longest. Trust me. It's temporary, and you're going to excitement, and then at the end of the day, you're going to hurt somebody. And and a lot of people actually get hurt through these crazy behaviors. And so please, out there, folks, do the right thing, educate folks, more about being nice to people, be kind. Kindness is a great thing. And, you don't know what it does to people. Maybe the fact that you were going through that stuff when you were younger, did impact your person, and therefore you became a lot more, collapsed on yourself. And maybe that's something that you always took that energy back. And sometimes that's a problem. You talked about energy. Energy is big, right? If you don't know how to maneuver that and expose it and work with it correctly, that can be a problem. I mean, it's like if you keep it all in, you're just going to explode one day and you don't know what that does to you, right? And maybe that is what happened here. I'm not sure, but the fact is, some people don't realize the damage they do to others. And even if it's psychologically speaking, even if it's implied stuff, it gets absorbed to our subconscious and it stays there and it becomes, I'm a failure. I'm not good. I'm not, to the point, and it affects us. Folks, don't do that, please. If you have, if you have kids, make sure that your kids don't do that, because you don't want that to be done to your kids. And again, folks, whether you're, in a business, whatever, treat people correctly, nicely. It doesn't, it pays. Trust me. It's better to be nice than not nice. And at the end of the day, you're not going to gain anything by not being nice. So again, just a fair advice. You don't have to take it from me. I apply those rules myself in life, and I try to be as nice as possible to everybody. And I don't have any grudges against anyone. I don't stress out about, things. I look at everybody as there's always good in them. And if you use this formula I use personally, it helps, live a life that is better. Again, that's just for me. So Ryan, let's talk about, your transition.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to address a few things that you actually covered up, through your story. First of all, any interjection to what I stated, and then we can go to next.
Yeah, there's so many good points you made. And people will ask me, what if I had been driving, which I was driving about 10 minutes prior. And, the only reason I'm alive is because I got that CPR growing up as a people pleaser, it's how I got my worth, and suddenly now that I have boundaries, I had to learn how to possibly disappoint people or say no or turn things down. And well, how do I get my worth then? And that's a whole different story there. But I think a lot of that is, where does our value come from? And I have those conversations a lot with people.
Wow. So you've gone through this and you resumed your work, right? Now you work with people's behavior specifically. Now you said something, very unique, that you were a people pleaser. and a lot of people, sometimes they do that because you find that's the way to get in, right? To become part of the clique or become, sociable or acceptable or accepted rather. Right. And was that actually the reason? Just as a question for you?
I think so. I was so quiet and so introverted. I did have a hard time. I wasn't the cool kid. And, I didn't belong to a particular group. Once I found that, okay, I enjoy running and athletics, and running is solitary anyway. So I enjoyed that part. And I said, well, there's something that I found one thing I'm good at. Maybe that's who I am, because I don't know who I am. So maybe that's who I am. Maybe I'm this fitness guy because I can control that. It's solitary, so it checks those boxes. But then, the thing is you take that to extreme when you're looking for happiness externally and not internally. I developed an addiction in the eating thing and all that. But going through what I went through, it changed that identity. I had to look at, how I thought of myself, how I thought of my time, how was I using my time. I had to be comfortable turning people down. I had to be very picky about what I worried about, which is managing my own energy. And I work with people who are chronic worriers, people who are struggling with public speaking, because I can relate to all that stuff. But every single day, and a lot of people, when I work with them, they don't realize I heard, with the previous 50 people, people generally say stuff. Oh, I'm so busy. I'm so stressed. I get up. I got the, and I'm not. I mean, I'm super busy. But if you look at your current situation, you got here most often because of a series of choices, like choices, and so, and a lot of times it's going to take a series of choices to provide a different reality for you, and a lot of those are out of your comfort zone, and a lot of them you can't see. So again, that comes back to, we can't see ourselves. So, a lot of people just respond, "Oh, I'm so busy, I'm stressed. I can't reduce, say no or turn things down because of this." But we have to really step back and really look to make progress there.
Well, thank you for that. As a matter of fact, I do an exercise personally, and sometimes I every now and then I'll sit back and start asking questions myself. I really have a talk with myself, and it's weird. It sounds probably funny. You got like the people are gonna be like, "Well, this guy is weird." Maybe I am, but it's really a self discussion, if you want to call it, and it's really like, what did I do? How is it going? Am I doing this? I can do this. So I kind of get a pep talk to myself and kind of like tweak things, and maybe I should have done this way. Like having almost like somebody to talk to, but it's just like in your head. I do that exercise loud, literally. Like, so sometimes I'm in the car and just having a discussion, but it helps me kind of like identify, where I'm going. And then I'll start asking the questions, literally like, well, if I did this, what happens? I could do it mentally, but it's sometimes when you speak about it in loud, you kind of get that echo and you see it. Again, it's just a technique I use personally. It works for me. But the fact is, you're right. It's we go, and we find every reason why shit is not happening, or it's happening to us the wrong way. And all we need to do is kind of stop and just say, what's in it for me? I mean, that's the other part. I'm in sales, and that's a big one. What's in it for me? Well, you're number one. Everyone is number one to themselves. Even if you're a family member, a family person, guess what? You're not good to your family if you're not number one within you. Now, this is not about selfishness or being, self-centered. This is about, if you take care of you, you can take care of everybody else. I mean, in panic mode, and if you fly in and they tell you like, put the mask on the kids, the others, put the mask on you, and then you at first, so it varies. In some places you want to make sure that everybody is taken care of. But if you're not available, you're not going to help anyone, right? So you got to take care of you first and make sure that you're always at optimum state. And that is the most important. That doesn't mean that you care less about your family, your friends and stuff, but no matter where you are, sometimes we are very good and super good, and we would, sometimes go beyond the call of duty with our friends and family members. And there's nothing, that's a good behavior. But to what extent? Sometimes people put you to a point where it's like, why am I doing this? If they really care about you, they will not put you through that extreme, whatever situation. Sometimes people will get you in a situation just because they ask, and because you're worried they're not going to accept you, they're going to be not your friends. If they truly care about you, they're not going to put you in that position, right? And they'll help you actually be better. And sometimes you have to say no. That's another. You said it clear. You evaluate yourself now. You can say no. I don't have to. I'm not doing this. Whatever it is, the circumstances are different. I just can't. I need to be in peace with myself. I have to do things with my own. I want to just take a chill pill. Whatever the case may be, you don't have to go with everybody else's flow. You have to have your own unique personality, and you work your angle. And that doesn't take away from your being a good family member, and doing all of the above. But again, that you is important. In when we die, God forbid, and it's not even God forbid, we're all going to die one day, we will go alone. And, that's just the sad part of it. And so at the end of the day, it is still about you. You come alone, you go alone. And during the life, we socialize, we have a good time with everybody around us, and we have to have a healthy balance. But again, if you don't take care of number one, that's you, you might have a problem, right? And sometimes that could be detrimental to your health. It could be to your psyche. It could be to many things. And sometimes it's just people taking advantage. That's the other part. Knowing who you are, who your circle is important. Not everybody is always good for you. It's like there's plenty of food out there. Does that mean it's all good? Yeah. There's plenty of things that we can do, but that means it's not always good for you. So you have to know what works and what doesn't. And again, I look at it that way. I apply those rules. and again, your work does touch on these things. You're helping people to discover those elements, and so are there any specific techniques you apply to guide these folks? Because it is difficult. If I am used to a certain way, it is almost an addiction when you're like, let's say you always are with friends, right? And you just cannot be alone. And so, but it's affecting you, but you can't get out of it. That's a tough one. So, people are almost addicted to certain behaviors and they can't move away from the behavior unless they're coached to do so, and they have to find ways to get out of it. So how do you actually have people that actually have that problem, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, you made a lot of great points. And first of all, I'm transitioning to become a cyborg. So I'm already part of the way there. So I don't know how long that will last. I always tell people, I feel like I'm partly a cyborg now. So who knows? But I love your example of the plane. I always say, it's like you take the oxygen first, or else you're part of the panic. And so I love that example. I use a lot, but what you'll find when you have boundaries is, you're absolutely right, is some friends will fall away. And you also mentioned earlier, you're going to have to remove toxicity from your life. If something doesn't add to your life, it takes away. And so you're going to have to, and most of us, again, not realizing how we spend our time, a lot of the time, we're going to have to, we're going to learn real quick who our real friends are, and a lot of our habits that are time drainers that we don't realize. And again, it's all that stuff that we can't realize. So in terms of coaching and helping people, there are a lot of techniques they can do, but the first thing they need to have is just to be aware of it. They've developed bad habits for sometimes their whole life, and they never knew another way. So now what doesn't help is sitting down and giving people 20 suggestions about what will work. Because what they're going to do is they're going to give you 20 reasons why each of those suggestions isn't going to work. So it's about exploring and asking the right questions, kind of uncovering and looking for those aha moments. Maybe something they didn't realize about their own behaviors, but ultimately it's going to have to be choices that they make, often courageous choices that are out of their comfort zone. I mean, I've had clients, I'm not suggesting someone just quit their job and move away tomorrow, but sometimes it's going to take a bigger choice about what is and is not worth your energy. Because that's really all time management is. It is a management of your energy. I treat everything I do kind of like, this is a really weird analogy, but kind of like poker. With everything I do, I am basically saying, because I'm doing it, I am basically saying, yes, it's worth this many chips of time or whatever. So everything I do, I am saying to the universe, yes, I think it's worth it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. So I apply that to not just things I do in my life or don't do, but things I worry about too, my mental real estate. And I find that is the place to start, because most people, their busyness is just a reflection of their internal chatter, their self-dialogue, and their nonstop mind. Because most people live like this. It's like, oh yeah, I got to pick the kids up at 11. Oh God, that person said that at work. I had the report due. They live in this crazy internal environment. I can't do that. If I do that, I get dizzier, I get lightheaded, clammy, and I go downhill from there. So I look at it like with an example. Someone cuts you off in traffic this morning. And I love this example. Someone cuts you off in traffic. And a lot of people get angry. They'll lay on the horn, they'll honk the horn, and they'll worry, oh God, this idiot, that person, he totally expletives fly. And then, oh God, can you believe what he did? And they're talking about it for the next 15, 20, Now, you mentioned, you ask yourself the questions, and I thought of this and I was like, so what do you actually know about the situation? That's oftentimes the only question you'll need, because really you need two questions to ask yourself. Number one is, what do you actually know about the situation? Well, nothing. So this guy cut you off in traffic. How do you know he wasn't rushing to the hospital with his pregnant wife who's giving birth in the car? Would that change your perception of this guy who you're angry at? Maybe he just made a mistake. Maybe he feels terrible. Mm-hmm. Have you ever made a mistake? Sure. Probably. Okay. Now, maybe he knows he made a mistake and doesn't care. Okay. So what is your negativity and yelling at him? What are you going to do with that? Remember, if it doesn't help, it hurts. You going to teach him a lesson? What lesson do you think you're teaching him? He's not going to go and oh man, he forgot about it a second later. You're the one who's carrying it around. And we do that same example when we, dramas at work or exes we talk to, or we carry around this stuff that takes up mental real estate, and it just ends up in this endless chatter. And so you have to ask yourself, what do you know about the situation? Okay. In the case of the guy cutting you off, you know nothing. Okay. And is that worth your energy? No. Okay. There you go. So I dropped it. And I start a lot of people with these just very basic exercises to sort of understand where their energy is going, because it's all energy. It's all energy. And what people do when they run out of it, or they're uncomfortable just being with themselves, is they dive in social media, reality TV, and all those kinds of things. And they wonder where their time went because they're tired all the time. But I think it starts with basic exercises to really get someone to just be aware of it first. And then we get later on, phase 2 is more of the strategy of it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's funny because you're saying that, and I'm visualizing this whole scenario that you talked about the car. I think everybody's been through that case, and very other cases that are similar in terms of concept, where what can you do about it? Doesn't matter. I mean, to your point, the guy left, unless you're going to track him and go race them, and which will probably cause you more problems because now you have a speeding ticket. Maybe you get arrested. Maybe you get into an accident, God forbid. There's so many things that can, exactly, road rage can be bad. But were you going to do anything about it? Maybe if you were, dude, sorry, I'm sorry. To your point, we don't know what's going on. There's a good chance. I'm going to give you something real. This is real about me. I'm anti 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock meetings. Okay. And the reason I'm anti that is because I've had enough share of seeing road rage or getting in traffic for hours, in the New York traffic, that all I know that when you try to get into those meetings at 9 o'clock, you're actually in that traffic for a couple hours. And by the time you get to that meeting, you're so stressed and you're upset and then what's the point? There's nothing you could do at 9 o'clock you can do at 10 o'clock. And most people, maybe some people can disagree with me, but I can challenge that disagreement because we don't work the 8 hours every minute of it. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. Sorry to say it, but that's a fact. People chill a lot of times, in the office and all this stuff. And so you go to the meeting and, we don't need a 2-hour PowerPoint. We can go bullet, boom, boom, boom. This is it. It's going to get or not get. That's how it is. So people get stressed. So I made a rule a long time ago. My first meeting will be after 10. My last meeting will not be later than 4. And that's if I schedule anything, that will be it. And then the frequency. So some of the things that I've applied, it's because of these things. To your point, you're stressing yourself. You're stressing people. You're putting people in danger because someone is trying to make that appointment. They're probably going to cut corners. They're going to get a ticket. How many times I've heard with people, oh, I got a ticket. I was trying to get here fast and I got a ticket, but I caused that problem because I dictated a certain behavior and then that trickled, the effect. Now, ultimately someone can say, well, you should have left at 5 o'clock in the morning. I would agree to that. But then again, they're from 5 going to extend to 8 o'clock at night. They're going to be drained. The next day, they're not going to be able to maintain. They can do it for a few days, but then after that, they're not. So how good is that going to be to you? So again, you have to always have, try to find a reason behind things before, or at least try to find, it's like chess. It's the best example you can do. Like you have to almost anticipate the different moves before they happen, right? And so if you you have a decision, what's that going to happen? How is they going to affect everybody else that actually it's going to affect? And if you can manipulate that correctly and understand what's going to happen, you can probably remove some of the bad, action that can happen, or reaction, or even behavior, or even outcomes that can be bad and detrimental. So again, that's just a professional example I use, because over the years, I've always questioned, like, 8 o'clock meeting. Okay. So what happens? We're going to meet again at 9 and 10. And most of the meetings, again, in the world, the workplace, are meetings to just talk about meetings, then nothing gets achieved in those meetings. I'm sorry, but it is a fact. I mean, this is a debate that's been ongoing for decades, and we can cut to the chase. It's really, these are certain things we need to get it done. Let's get it done. That's it. But again, there's different schools of thought in business, right? And I'm not going to challenge all of them today, but the fact is, it's all about how do you, and that's the other thing. Like you said, you had the incident, you were 30, right? You're in the 40s. I hit the 50s, and you reflect back, it's like yesterday when I was just starting my career. 30 years later, like you've gotten some stuff out of it, but then for the most part, did that, if you're stressed out, if you did everything, nothing matters. You go to these jobs, and then you kind of eventually wind up in a different job anyway. It's like something, well, did you, like, even people when you work with them, it's like, how many companies did you work for before? Oh, a few. Oh, so that means you didn't stay in all of those. There's a reason you left. Somehow you left. So whether you did good or bad, you left, right? So if you start, analyzing these things and really using your mind about, like, reflecting, again, talking about the reflecting, concept, reflection of behavior, you will be a different person. You will behave differently because you start anticipating these things and kind of like, question like why. When you start asking the whys and the right questions, you're probably going to get the right answers. And therefore you're not going to, like, if I did this, if I would have, like, again, driving, it's a great example. I've seen people, they rush to get into that light only to get hit, in the front, So what's the point? You're rushed for about literally 10 seconds or less, and now you're stuck for 2 hours. That's if you're not getting hurt, right? Plus your insurance just gone up and everything. What was that 10 seconds? Anyone that is waiting for you out there, it's probably not going to make a difference in 10 seconds. And whatever's going to happen at that point is going to happen to that person. You show up late. Okay, no big deal. You can make it up. If it's about performance, you're just going to do your performance. It's like you said, we're all human. There's no one out here that can listen or watch this that can possibly say, I am innocent of any of the above. I've never was late, or I've never showed up. I don't care who you are, even if you work, there will be times where it was out of your way and something happens and you couldn't do it. You're driving on the highway, there's a major accident, the highway shuts down. 3 hours later, you can't even get out of the highway. What are you going to do? These are things that happen to all of us, right? Travel, you go to a place, you can't get a plane, you're stuck in the airport. What are you going to do? We can go crazy and stress out and blow up a fuse, or we can just take, this happened to me. I was actually transiting through a trip overseas, and we were so delayed, and so the airline says, "Would you mind staying behind? What's in it for me? Oh, we'll give you three days at a 5-star hotel, food included, a tour, and a first class ticket to your destination." Like, shit, yeah, man, I'm in. I'm cool, baby.
Yeah.
So I mean, people didn't take it. Listen, I called my work. I said, I'm stuck and I'm not going to do anything about it. This is a good opportunity. I'm not going crazy, because they needed me to go jump in from one plane. It's going to be 48 hours before I actually go to sleep, somewhere in my bed. That's not cool. So I took advantage of that opportunity. So again, things happen. Look at them, evaluate them, take the best of the situation, and don't rush into things. Don't make those bad, hasty decisions. To your point, rage, it doesn't hurt. I mean, someone goes in, okay, have a good day. And chances are they'll be in trouble. I love when that happens. When someone goes in and then there's a cop down the block. I'm like, cool. You just got yourself in trouble, right? I mean, again, I don't wish any bad things on people, but sometimes people do that to themselves. But you're right. Like, you don't know what's going on in that mind, that person. That person is probably running because they're afraid to lose their job, because their boss, that has no mercy, doesn't care. And, I want you at 9 o'clock just because I got the authority to tell you to come here at 9 o'clock or else. And so because of that, now you're going crazy. And so that attitude can drive, people to do, very nasty stuff. You go in, you get excited for little things. Why? Yeah, you put yourself in position. Sometimes that's the other thing. Like, for example, you go out, right? And you go to these places, and these places potentially can be a source of, nonsense. Why do you go there? You go to a bar, and there could be a bar brawl anyway, right? So depends where you go. There's a good chance. So you take a chance, you're putting yourself in that position. You could avoid going there. Now, again, you can be anywhere and trouble can find you. But if you minimize those conditions or those elements of surprise, or where your energy is going to be wasted, that's just going to help you better. Again, that's just my version of things and how I operate. But again, it took years for me. I mean, I was a younger age at the time, and I was a little bit more of a crazy dude. And, when I say crazy, not that crazy, but, hot-headed. And, I had the tough, look, what the hell's going on? But it didn't serve well. It doesn't serve well. I learned a long time ago that it didn't help. One of the things that helped me, I mean, I've been in martial arts, and you always kind of cool down, at every situation. You cannot panic. You cannot get crazy. You cannot get enraged, because it doesn't help you. You lose all your thinking process and all your true stuff. And that's when you make mistakes. You don't want to make mistakes, because if you're making a decision where you're angry, your outcomes are probably going to be bad. Take a deep breath, relax, evaluate the situation. Sometimes the best fight is the one that never happened. You move away. It's okay. You can take that ego with you home and just take a cold shower. It's all right. There's no win in a fight. Now, someone's like, "Oh, you're a wuss." I'm not going to back down. Well, you don't have to back down, but you don't know who that person can be too, right? And so now somebody's going to get hurt. And worst case, if you win, you might have hurt them the wrong way, and they press charges and you're in jail. So is that something? You lost your job, your career, your family, whatever. Evaluate things. See, it's like in some of the movies they show you where you see the vision of the action of things happening, like in advance. They almost have a premonition of things before they happen. Like in The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, I think. Yeah. There was a scene where he saw the whole fight before the fight happened, right? That actually happens in real life, believe it or not. And at least in the martial arts, you're in a situation, you kind of visualize the whole thing, the angles, who's what, how. It happens with practice. It actually becomes reality. And in every single situation, if I did this, I could have done this. If you can visualize what could possibly, all the different outcomes, it can happen in very split few seconds, and you can see all the different, if I did this, I could have done this. I tell that to my kids. They look at me like I have 3 heads now. Seriously. Like, I was like, well, see that guy? If we did this, we could have, at the next level, we could have a situation happening. People look at you like, well, but just try it. Believe me, if you try these things, you will see what I'm talking about. It's not even like something that's far-fetched. You just have to think about it. And now they start, coming, and making sense. So anyways, I rumbled a lot. So one thing now with the book. Well, first of all, any interjections based on my little brief there?
Yeah, just, again, yeah, in a lot of those situations, if it doesn't help, it hurts. And like, I think the airport example and I had to chuckle because, when things happen like that, it's like, what does it serve the situation to get upset about it? Or, I'm not suggesting that you just accept everything and you do nothing ever, but you can be fully present in the situation and not allow your mind to run on this long tangent. You're deciding with what you do and how you handle it, what's worth it, and in most cases it's just not. And you don't need a trauma to change or undo the habits, but you do need a catalyst. Most people need some sort of a catalyst. It could be, maybe this podcast is a catalyst. Maybe, just you come into that realization, hey, I have some habits here and I need to reevaluate, how I'm living. So.
Well, thank you for that. So let's talk about the book. You said you released it in April?
Yep. It's called The Half Known Life, What Matters Most When We're Running Out of Time. Now, it's not a classic self-help. Some people think, oh, it's the half-known life. So, it's the cardiac arrest and life is short and you only live once and all that. Or they think it's a productivity book, and it's neither. It's more of, we can't see ourselves. The phrase "half known life" actually comes from a quote from Moby Dick, and it's the inability for us to see ourselves, and it's an exploration of going through how you're spending time and what is actually worth it. Now, if you ask someone what's worth it, what's a priority, everyone has an answer. Oh, my family, I love them. But no one's reflecting it. Few are reflecting it in their daily life. So, the book is not, it's an honest look at it. It's not a sunshine and rainbows self-help where it's like how to be more productive and get more done in 2 hours. It's almost an inner exploration of your blind spots. That's really the crux of it there. It's on Amazon. You can contact me or get through it on my website, rslindner.com, rslindner.com. But you can just search for it on Amazon too.
All right. Well, thank you. I'll have actually the description in the description of the show, the link to your site and the book. So hopefully people can reach out and get a copy and potentially learn from it, because it sounds like it's a powerful book, and it's really to get inside and show us a different way of dealing with things. And it's important. The other thing is, how can people reach out to you? I mean, same thing, I guess, to the site, and people can book a session with you for personal development.
Yeah, I'm happy to help. I don't take many one-on-ones. I work mostly with organizations now, but I'm happy to help where I can. They can contact me through the website, through LinkedIn. The book site is halfknownlifebook.com. So really any of those ways, and they all link up to my social media as well. So happy to help where I can, and hopefully the book will be helpful as well.
Excellent. And so when you mentioned something about the working with organizations, so basically like, for staff members and teams, is that what it is, or for like corporations, or?
Exactly. I was working with individuals for a while, and then it kind of got into, well, if you help employees be at their best, it helps companies. And from there, it stemmed into helping retraining organizations, developing materials for that. And also organizations, they focus a lot on hiring roles, not people. And you mentioned something earlier, which made me think of it, which was, all the jobs people have had, and that's where I kind of help. I track things like turnover and help people be people there, and not just the next role to be filled. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with firing your job if the minute it doesn't allow you to be your fully expressed self. So I help people with that transition as well.
I love it. And actually, to your point, I mean, companies hire you, you hire them. I mean, it's always been, I think the traditional way to think about it is like you're an employee and you're being interviewed and you're being recruited. I think the new way is that you recruit your company and your boss and whoever you're going to want. I don't believe in the word boss, but whoever you actually, will report to needs to make sense, and somebody that you can actually relate to and work with, in a good way. Doesn't matter the hierarchy. And again, so that, again, it's just a different way of looking at things. And again, it takes time sometimes to see these things because we've been conditioned to a certain way. This is the only way and the old way. And it works for a minute, but once you start getting a little bit of wisdom, you realize there is a system and you can actually have a different way about it. And again, it all leads to one thing, which is life is about you. You need to live the life you want, because at the end of the day, you want to get a fulfilling life and enjoy the most of it and make the best of it. And if you're constantly in a struggle, you're not living the right life. And certainly it can affect your health and your psyche, your family, and everything else. So the price will be very, very hefty if you don't do the right thing. So any last words of wisdom from you for our audiences today?
I would say, you take the oxygen first. Otherwise, you're just part of the chaos there. And, your health has got to come first. No one comes to the end of life and says, whoa, that was slow. No one says that. It always seems slower in the moment until something awakens you. And hopefully it's just a catalyst and you just said, hey, I got to live differently.
Well, again, thank you so much. I mean, obviously, certain everybody goes through some sort of an event in their life. Some are worse than others, but at the end of the day, we all go through something, a change that potentially sometimes when you look at it deeply, it was the right thing that happened to you to make the move and to become a new person. And unless you realize that, sometimes, you blame the world why it happened. Only later on you realize, oh, damn, that's why it happened. And again, and as bad as some of the examples can be, many people would relate to that only when that stuff happened where they became, independent, or they became successful because they took the time now to develop their own company, whatever. Personal life, business, people have made a lot of changes and successes from a traumatic, concept or situation that they came across. And you never know what that is. And again, we don't wish bad on anyone, and hopefully that nothing's going to happen. But life is full of surprises and challenges and hurdles, and things do happen. And sometimes for the better reason. You just have to figure out what that is and what your calling is. That's all. Well, listen, time flew here. We've gone through the hour quickly, and I'm truly thank you for being with us and sharing with all the insights, your story. And, I think we've had a great time. I think folks hopefully will benefit from this discussion. Thank you so much.
It was amazing. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And folks, thank you for being with us, for watching and listening in. And we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new guest. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao.